Welcome to the Geostrategic Podcast.
What if the way wars are fought, the very definition of military power, is changing right under our noses, silently, radically? We're talking about a future, maybe even the present, where drones aren't just support anymore. They're fast becoming the main weapon. It's not sci-fi. It's happening now. So in this deep dive, we're going to look at some really fascinating source material, stuff that challenges those, traditional ideas of military strength. Our mission really is to explore this big shift away from those expensive, iconic maneuvers we see in films towards something stealthier, more persistent. And the big question we're tackling is, are drones making a classic piece of military hardware, the helicopter, basically obsolete?
That's exactly it. And to really get our heads around this, we need to draw a clear comparison. On one side, you've got the classic helicopter assault. Super high stakes, incredibly complex, the symbol of decisive force. And on the other, these low-cost but really high-impact drone operations. And this isn't just about new tech. It's about the real-world effects on combat, on logistics, ultimately on who wins. It truly reshapes how we see military power today.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Starting with that classic image, the helicopter air assault. For decades, that was the symbol of a decisive strike, right? That lightning move behind enemy lines, waves of helicopters swooping in. The whole idea was audacious. Drop troops deep, mess up command, cut supply lines, cause panic. Pure overwhelming force delivered fast.
Exactly. Iconic is the word. But the reality of actually doing one, immensely demanding and costly. Our sources are clear on this. To land just one battalion tactical group, maybe 600 troops you need, like 20 to 40 transport helicopters, your Mi-8s, your UH-60s. But that's not all. They can't go alone. They need heavy armed escorts, think K-52s, Mi-24s, Apaches for protection. And before any of that lifts off, you need major work-suppressing enemy air defenses. Artillery, fighter jets, electronic warfare. You have to blind them first. And the cost. For just one operation, it's staggering, easily $20 to $40 million. That's fuel, ammo, wear and tear, personnel, everything. Plus the risk is huge. Modern man-pads, those shoulder-fired missiles and radar-guided guns, they can knock down up to 30% of your helicopters if those defenses aren't totally crushed. Imagine losing several helicopters, hundreds of troops, in minutes. He goes from lightning strike to, disaster, strategically, humanly. It's catastrophic.
Wow, that really paints a picture of the sheer scale and risk involved. So given all that cost and danger, is there any time anymore where a helicopter assault is still the best or maybe the only option?
Yes, absolutely. It's not completely obsolete. The sources suggest it still holds a unique advantage for one specific thing: the sudden physical capture of large facilities. Stuff you just can't take out remotely. Think critical bridges, major railway junctions, important command HQs. You need boots on the ground to seize and hold those. And when it works, a successful helicopter assault can do more than just disrupt. It can actually help encircle large enemy forces. It can fundamentally change the battlefield layout.
Okay, so incredibly expensive, risky, but still has that niche for grabbing key physical locations. But then, what if you could achieve similar disruption, that cutting of supply lines, with something much, much simpler? And that's where our sources point to this drone-enabled mining. It seems like a totally different world.
It really is. Drone mining is cropping up as this incredibly low-cost way to mess with the enemy's rear areas. Instead of, dozens of helicopters and hundreds of soldiers, you have maybe a few operators, some off-the-shelf quadcopters, and improvised mines. But the effect, it can be just as paralyzing, maybe even more insidious over time. Those vital logistics lines in the rear just grind to a halt. Frontline units then start getting starved. No fuel, no ammo, no medical supplies. It's like a silent strangulation of their ability to fight.
Yeah.
And even basic quadcopters, the kind carrying just 1 to 3 kilograms, can drop anti-vehicle mines, PTM-1s, PTM-3s onto roads or bridges, maybe 15, 20 kilometers behind the lines. Then you have bigger drones, like Ukraine's Supercam or Russia's Shahids, which can push that range even further, dropping mines or small bombs pretty precisely. And it's a cumulative tactic, right? Every mine that goes off, every roadblock that stops convoys, it forces detours, it makes the enemy use up their valuable engineers, just clearing paths, it ties down resources, and the cost difference is just dramatic.
A whole week of drone mining, maybe having a similar impact on logistics as one big helicopter assault, might cost only $1 to $1.5 million. That's maybe 10, 15 heavy quadcopters, 50, 100 mines, perhaps 25 people running it. It works out about 30 times cheaper than that single helicopter mission, and the losses much easier to swallow. Sure, some drones get jammed or shot down, but many get through, and crucially, the operators. They're safe, far away from the danger zone.
30 times cheaper. That is just,
yeah,
staggering. But what about countermeasures? Are these drone mining tactics easy to stop? What are the vulnerabilities our sources point out?
That's a key point. It's effective, but not unstoppable. Success really hinges on the electronic warfare battle. You need to protect your drones, obviously. And the enemy is constantly adapting, developing jammers, anti-drone guns, trying to create no-fly zones for these things. It's that constant tech race. Also, and this is important, this strategy takes time. It's a slow squeeze, remember, not that instant shock and awe. So if you need results right now, it might not be the right tool.
Right. Time is a big factor. And you mentioned drones doing more than just dropping things. What about this idea of them actually, like, capturing soldiers or escorting them? That sounds wild.
It does sound wild, but it's happening. Our sources document cases, actual instances, where drones have been used to basically persuade or guide enemy soldiers to surrender and walk towards friendly lines. Think about the psychological effect of that. A machine, remotely operated, influencing enemy soldiers directly. It moves beyond just physical disruption into, well, psychological warfare without risking your own people. It's a whole new dimension. And this really hammers home a crucial point. This isn't just about new gadgets replacing old ones. It's a fundamental shift in doctrine. The helicopter assault, like we said, is that lightning strike. A big gamble, aiming for shock and chaos. Drone mining, though, is the constrictor's slow squeeze. It's methodical, persistent. It aims to cut off the enemy's lifeblood, bit by bit. And in modern war, with tight budgets and really dense air defenses everywhere, this kind of strangulation tactic, it can achieve similar strategic effects to a shock assault, but at a much, much lower cost in lives and equipment.
So for commanders making decisions on the ground, this completely changes the calculation, doesn't it? It's not just how to attack, but it's about the type of effect needed and the time available. Do you need that immediate decisive result right now, maybe justifying the risk of a helicopter assault? Or do you have the strategic patience, the time to slowly suffocate the enemy with these persistent, low-cost drone ops?
Exactly. The sources suggest that if resources are limited, which they often are, this slower strangulation approach can get you comparable results. But it absolutely demands time and sustained effort. You have to stick with it.
Okay, so the battlefield impact is huge. But you mentioned it's not just about combat or mining. These drones are seeping into everything, aren't they? Transforming the whole support system of war, too.
Absolutely. Logistics is a massive one. Drones are now routinely delivering essentials. Food, water, medical supplies, even ammo, right to frontline positions. Places where sending a truck or people would be incredibly dangerous or just too slow. There was even this amazing example in the sources of a drone delivering an e-bike to help a wounded soldier escape. That's incredibly innovative thinking. And look at casualty evacuation. Ukraine, as General Sirskiy mentioned, is actively testing aerial platforms specifically to evacuate wounded soldiers. Think about that. It saves the injured soldier, obviously, but it also protects the medics, the evacuation teams, from coming under fire. That's potentially revolutionary for battlefield medicine.
Wow. And what about intelligence gathering, reconnaissance?
That's another area in massive flux. One expert we looked at, Serafim Gordienko, he actually thinks aerial reconnaissance, as we traditionally know it, might be on its way out. He emphasizes how crucial recon is in that recon strike loop, finding the target, confirming it, hitting it. No visual confirmation often means no strike. It's decisive.
But it's getting harder.
Much harder. Russia, for example, has built these layered defenses specifically against drones using FPV interceptors. They're creating these kill zones extending maybe 15, 20 kilometers deep. So flying a recon drone during the day, it's almost guaranteed to be shot down now. Night flights offer some cover, but Moscow's improving its night capabilities fast too. Even flying high, like 4,000 or 5,000 meters, isn't safe anymore, according to the sources. They're being detected and targeted. The result, you get these big blind spots on the front line. Commanders just can't see what's happening. Huge intelligence gaps. It's this constant tech arms race, this cat and mouse game.
So the air war is changing, recon is changing.
Yeah.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's not just flying drones, is it? Ground robots are joining in now, too. Feels like the whole battlefield is becoming more autonomous.
That's exactly right. We're seeing a huge surge, especially in Ukraine's domestic industry, developing unmanned ground systems, or UGSs. The growth rate is incredible. Just looking at cargo deliveries by ground robots to the front line, it jumped over 80% in July compared to June. That's massive month-on-month growth. And they're doing everything. You've got logistics robots like the Spider carrying maybe 100 kilos, built tough, jam-resistant, designed for rough terrain. These things like the Spider or the Volya E, Ratel H, Termit, Rise Piro, they're hauling supplies, ammo, bringing back wounded. They handle snow, mud, rubble. Payloads range from 150 up to 600 kilograms. It takes humans out of some really dangerous supply runs.
So logistics is covered. What about actual fighting?
Yep, combat robots too. Systems like Loot or Shiblia M2. These give soldiers remote firepower, Machine guns, thermal sights, controlled from a safe distance, surveillance, reconnaissance, direct engagement, without putting soldiers directly in the line of fire. And then you have specialized roles, unmanned mine layers, kamikaze ground vehicles like the Raytail S, delivering explosives precisely. They combine mobility, speed, lethality, all remotely operated.
And crucially, things like demining, too.
Absolutely vital. Demining robots, like Zime, are clearing paths through minefields using remote controls and sensors. Takes away one of the most dangerous jobs soldiers face. And for evacuation on the ground, robots equipped with thermal cameras and good communications can find and transport casualties even under heavy fire. It's saving lives in multiple ways.
It's clear that technology isn't just tweaking warfare, it's fundamentally rewriting the rules. Quietly, maybe, but profoundly.
Which brings us back to that really important question. How does all this big shift away from the expensive, risky helicopter assaults towards these cheaper, persistent drone and ground robot operations? How does it change the whole geostrategic landscape? The implications are huge. Firstly, it kind of democratizes military capability, doesn't it? Nations with smaller budgets who can never afford fleets of advanced helicopters or jets can now achieve significant disruptive effects with relatively cheap drones and robots. It potentially levels the playing field somewhat. Secondly, it really shifts the focus. It moves away from relying on that single knockout blow towards sustained attrition and disruption. Suddenly, protecting your own logistics, your own rear areas, becomes absolutely critical because they're vulnerable to these persistent low-cost attacks. And that changes everything. The calculus for intervention, how long you can sustain a conflict, how you project power. It's all different now. Just having expensive tanks and planes isn't enough if your supply lines can be choked off by cheap drones.
That's a really powerful final thought. What does a world look like when effective military power isn't just about big, shiny, expensive machines, but maybe more about swarms of cheap, smart, remotely operated systems? How does that change global power dynamics? How does it change what security even means for you? Thank you for joining us on the deep dive as we explored this radical transformation in warfare. We hope you'll keep thinking about the deep implications of these changes in technology and military thinking. Thanks for tuning in. If you found this discussion valuable, please like, share, and subscribe to the Geostrategic Podcast for more in-depth analysis on topics that shape our world. Stay informed, stay ahead, and stay tuned for the next episode.